Okay, good afternoon. This is Richard Hsu, host of Hsu Untied. Today I'm very pleased to have with me as my guest Olga Berson, who's a partner at Morgan Lewis. Olga, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Happy to
Olga,
be
I'm
here.
very nice. Thank you. I'm always excited to interview Caltech alums and particularly Caltech alums who became lawyers like myself. Let me ask you, I understand you are from Russia. How did you pick a tiny school like Caltech from Russia?
Well, I got my undergraduate degree in Russia in chemical engineering and environmental engineering. And then it was 1990 when Soviet Union collapsed, and I was looking for opportunities to continue my education. I was actually on the very first student exchange program between Russia, well, then Soviet Union, and USA, when Reagan went to meet Gorbachev, and it was in late 80s. They agreed that they're going to start student exchange. So I was part of that program and went to Dartmouth College in 88 and got a little preview of US education. I was very excited about it, but had to return for multiple reasons, including didn't want to create any issues for my family. But then in 1990, I had an opportunity to come to the US, just meet some family friends. And I wanted to continue education. I wanted to go to graduate school, and I wanted to be in environmental science program. So I looked at various schools, and the family friends lived in Los Angeles. So I looked at some schools on the East Coast, but also here in California. And Caltech had a really interesting program in environmental science. It was an interdisciplinary program. The professor who I was interested in working with, she did bioremediation, and she was working on making methanotrophic bacteria digest pollutants by mistake, just due to their enzyme non-specificity. And I thought it was really cool because it involved biochemistry, molecular biology, chemistry, chemical engineering. It was really an interdisciplinary program. And I thought that it would be nice to use some of the knowledge I had from my undergraduate degree, but also expand it.
How did you like Caltech? It's this very small school. What did you think?
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was really good fit for me because I came from Russia, and at that time, my English wasn't great, and I was a little intimidated. But at Caltech, there were so many international students. There were not too many Russian students at that time. I know that there are a lot of Russian speakers nowadays. But at that time, there were just a few. I met all of them. But generally, there were a lot of people with different accents, different backgrounds, and I thought it was really exciting. And the school was really nice, small, cozy. I just felt at home.
So what did you end up doing your PhD thesis on?
So the PhD thesis was in that bioremediation area. It was on using methanotrophic bacteria to digest trichloroethylene, just because their main enzyme in this bacteria is not very specific. And specifically, I was focused on copper metabolism, on how the role of copper in activating this particular enzyme.
What were your career goals at the time after you got your PhD? What were you thinking about doing?
When I graduated, I actually thought that I'm gonna stay in environmental consulting or something related to environmental science, not necessarily bioremediation, but more generally environmental science. And I looked for opportunities both on East Coast and here in California, and I wasn't finding anything that would be particularly interesting. There were not too many jobs at that time in that particular area in environmental science. So I ended up working for a small company in Monrovia, and they basically did a little bit of everything. They did fuel additives, they did laundry detergents. They were not too much involved with environmental projects, but it was mostly like chemistry, industrial chemistry type of company.
And so how did the law school thing come into picture?
Well, when I was working at the company, there was a patent attorney who was visiting the company to harvest inventions, and I started talking to him. I had no idea that patent law exists, and actually never thought that I would pick a career in law. I felt that English is not my first language, and my impression was that lawyers have to be like lawyers you see in TV shows, right?
Mhm.
Very eloquent, and they're great. They present arguments, and I thought, it never occurred to me that's something that I would be interested in. But after talking to him, I realized that there's interesting area of law, patent law, that requires you to have technical understanding and technical knowledge. And if you work in transactional field, if you do patent prosecution, you write patents, you don't necessarily need to be that TV lawyer, all polished and making great arguments. So I thought it was interesting, and then maybe within 2 years after I started working for the company, they experienced some financial difficulties. They went through bankruptcy, and I thought at that time, I have an opportunity to change careers, and I decided to look for jobs in law, specifically in patent law. Alternative career path that I was considering at the time was a technical consultant for venture capitalists. But I just went through Martin Del Hubel books and trying to find people who went to Caltech and became lawyers, found a few, called them up, and got interviews pretty easily. I would just call and say that, I'm so-and-so, I don't know anything about law, but I went to Caltech as you did, and I have this technical knowledge. Maybe you can use me as a technical consultant, technical specialist in any capacity. I would love to do it, and I'm a fast learner, something like that. I got some interviews, and was one firm, it was Loeb and Loeb at the time. There was an IP group in the firm. They interviewed me, and they said, yeah, we'll try you out. We'll give you 3 months to see if you can show what you can do and if we can train you. So that's how my career in law started.
So you worked as a patent agent then initially?
It wasn't even patent agent, because at that time I hadn't taken patent bar, so it was just technical. I don't remember exactly the role, and it was like technical consultant session. But I was asked to work on patent applications, on responses to patent office actions, essentially as a patent agent. But they couldn't call me patent agent because I passed patent bar.
But you liked it enough that then you decided you want to go to law school and become a full-time patent attorney?
Well, I liked it enough where I thought, why limit myself? And so I thought, I feel like I can do well in this career. And after first 3 months, when I was told that they're gonna keep me in that position, and I did okay, I thought that it would be probably would make sense to become a lawyer. So I have opportunity to do anything a lawyer can do, not just work under somebody. So at the end of that first year, I think I took, maybe during that first year, I took LSAT and applied to law schools, and then went to law school.
Yeah. And how did you like law school compared to, PhD graduate school and science your whole life? What did you think?
It's an interesting question, because I remember, so I went to Loyola here in Los Angeles. And Loyola had both day program and evening program. I was in the day program, but because I continued working, which I wasn't supposed to do, I think, I kind of started taking evening classes as well. So I was able to graduate in 3 years, but I took some evening classes. The reason I'm saying that is because there was a huge difference between students in day program and evening program. In day program, there were almost all students came after with bachelor's degree, and shortly, if not right away after getting the undergraduate degree. And I remember them all complaining and crying how difficult it is in law school. And I kept thinking to myself, it's easier than being in science engineering program, because you can make up an answer and it'll be a right answer as long as you put analysis through and you hit certain points, you identify issues, but there's no right or wrong answer. You can argue on either side, and sometimes you ask to argue on both sides. And so I felt that that was easier, but everyone was complaining. And then when I went and took some evening classes with people who are, professionals, and that's law is the second career for them. We had an emergency room doctor. We had people from insurance background, like people with different backgrounds, engineers and so on. Nobody complained. Everybody said that was easy, and all most, in the evening program, all of them had full-time jobs. And so I felt that law school was really, really empowering because, especially as an immigrant, somebody who speaks with an accent, I felt that I can deal with businesses, with companies, with insurance companies more confidently. They hear my accent and they try to take advantage of me, but then I can really argue with them and or write a letter, and then I resolve whatever dispute we're having. So that felt really, on a personal level, felt really empowering. But then I also enjoyed the Socratic method. I thought it was really interesting to participate in discussions.
That's so cool. So now, do you get to use your scientific knowledge in your practice today a lot, somewhat? Tell me a little bit how much you get to use it these days.
Yeah, I feel that in patent law you can't avoid science, right? You really have to have technical knowledge to be able to do your job. And in life sciences, and my focus is on life sciences, so it's inventions in the areas of medical sciences, pharmaceuticals, biological drugs, medical devices. I also sometimes get involved with materials outside of medical science, but mostly life sciences. And I feel like you can't really function without having technical degree. In life sciences, patent attorneys with life sciences focus typically have PhDs, advanced degrees. It's less common for people who focus on computer science and other technical areas. But in life sciences, almost everyone I know has a PhD, both partners, associates, patent agents, and so on. Because the technology, science is developing so fast and it's so sophisticated, you have to be able to talk to the inventor and understand them. And also, I've done litigation, despite my fears of and having images of attorneys who you see on TV. I did do a litigation for 12 years in life sciences area. And there, when I work with experts, it's the same story. You really have to understand the science because I feel that I'm perform better as an attorney if I understand not only patent issues, but also science issues, and I can come up with arguments and then run them by expert instead of asking expert to come up with arguments and then try to fit them into legal construct, right? So I feel that it's absolutely necessary and I use it every day.
Yeah. So I take it you're very pleased with your career choice to go into law. You don't, no regrets or anything like that?
Well, I don't think I would tell you I have regrets now that I spent 20 years in this career. No, I don't have regrets. I think it's really interesting career path. And early on, as I mentioned, I was thinking about working with venture capitalists as a technical consultant. Well, I ended up working with them as an attorney, advising them on various investments, looking at the patent portfolios. So it's a really interesting career, and I tried different things. I've done patent prosecution, litigation, a lot of diligence work, helping companies understand patent portfolios of the target if they're investing in or buying another technology or another company. Same with investors. So you can do a lot of different things within patent law, and I think it's a really interesting career path for somebody with technical background.
Yeah. Well, Olga, this has been a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate your taking the time. Congratulations on all your success, and thanks for sharing your story with me.
Sure. Happy to be here.
This is Richard Hsu and Olga Berson. Thanks.